time for Friday Reads, where we're going to talk about what I've read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. I'm in the middle of a lot of things. Actually, not even the middle. Let's not even say the middle. The beginning. I am in the middle of two things, one of which I need to decide when I'm going to DNF, so we'll chat through that. I'm excited about a book, actually two books I just picked up, which probably doesn't help the fact that I kind of want to DNF one of the books. And I've finished two things, which we'll talk about first. Both of those things were science fiction books, so making this the year of science fiction is working out. The first one is The Deep Sky, which I talked about last week. I was very early days when I read it last week. I was a little apprehensive about some of the world building choices. Honestly, still apprehensive about some of the world building choices, but it won me over with, the very engaging mystery-focused plot, which I'm surprised to be saying that because mystery-focused, action-driven plots, I feel like they don't always land for me. I don't always gravitate towards that genre. I do think this book will work less well for people who do read it, because I think there is some predictability there that I did not see coming. And it wasn't even necessarily that I was driven to figure out the why. I was just more like, what is happening? So it has that claustrophobic, I don't know if it's actually like a closed circle mystery, but I mean, we have all these people on a spaceship and a couple people die and presumably it was sabotage. So you got to figure out what happened, and it can probably only be someone on the ship. So it's that type of setup. It's very odd world building decisions. But I think honestly, the glue that kept this together for me, and I think it's very hit or miss among readers, especially based off the buddy read discussions we've been having, is how much you care about the past timeline and the current timeline and the friendships that have come together and fallen apart. Because I do think at its core, I was driven along by figuring out, wait, what happened to this friendship? Can this friendship be restored? Because a lot of these friendships came from a place of a very competitive school system. So to get on the ship, a bunch of people had to go through this huge process. I think 800 people were in this school, and only like 80 were going to get to go, and it had to be the top part, and certain countries had certain quotas, and it's this whole competition. So friendships built on intense stress and competition, and then some people are chosen and some people aren't, and our main character was the alternate. So is on this journey, but wasn't one of the obvious first picks. It's interesting how she gets there. She also has a very tenuous relationship with her mother, so I found that not only was I just very into like, what is happening on this ship? Like, I guessed it wrong so many times, what was happening on this ship. And I don't know if it's necessarily a story where you could guess it right unless you've read the genre a lot. In some ways, the story is like, look, there were these breadcrumbs. But I'm like, how was I supposed to know that? I don't know enough about X to know that. So I think I would argue maybe you couldn't quite figure it out unless you're kind of Scooby-Dooing it. It's like, well, maybe it's that one because it's the least obvious thing, or maybe it's that because, it's the second person we saw, or, if you're using things that you've typically seen in this type of story. Regardless, I had a really fun time. And honestly, like, I was just blown away that I read, I think 60% of this in one day and really wanted to. It was primarily through the audiobook that worked fairly well for me. I didn't mind physically reading it, but it was the type of story that was more fun for me while I was just like knitting up a project. And I was like, yeah, what's happening next? And like, it was a very engaging thing to do during that space. So it was pretty surprising. I was honestly like, after the first couple chapters where I was like having some extreme world building distractions, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. I still don't think the world building's that strong. So if you need that, if you need to understand why, it's just, I don't know. I don't think humanity is surviving in this universe based off some of the political decisions being made, but it's fine. It's fine. The second thing I finished is another science fiction. That's the Vore Game. I finally did it, guys. I was just one night in bed. I'm like, I don't know what to pick up on my Kindle because I think my other read was a physical read, and I don't read physical books in bed. My wrists, we don't do that anymore. And so I'm like, well, I have the Vore Game on here, and I haven't, picked it up yet. And I was gifted an Audible membership for Christmas or my birthday or something. They're close together, so I never know which one. But you get a lot of the Bejeweled for Kosigan books basically for free with Audible. I mean, I can easily get them from my library too. I just like that you can fine-tune the speeds on Audible a bit more if I have both options equally available. And so I first started physically reading the Vore Game, and it's fun. I just like being with Miles. If you don't know anything about Vorkosigan Saga, it's a space opera world, and like it's so odd. Like each book I could never predict where we ended up based off where we started. And I don't even know how you describe a plot of these books. Like there's a lot of plot going on. There are so many twists and turns for all of them. I've been reading them in in-world chronological order for the most part. And so this is the second book. I think there is probably a short story or novella that I've skipped thus far, but it's the second full-length book with the character of Miles Verkosigan. And he's from this, he's kind of a person of two worlds because of his parentage, which you learn about in Shards of Honor and Barayar. And he also, not only is he part of, two cultural worlds and living, in his father's world, that's primarily where they are, he also has some issues, like, I don't know how to describe it. He has disabilities, which is actually very frowned upon in this planetary system, their culture. But he's very driven, he is very precocious, he is very manipulative and charismatic and just fun to follow. And that's just what I do. I just follow Miles. I'm like, what are you doing? And the dialogue, I think Bejeweled has amazing dialogue. I think if you like T. Kingfisher, it's not a one-to-one, but if you want like the science fiction version, try it out. Like, these are really easy, consumable reads. I think they're like 300 to 400 pages. And I just go with it. Like, I truly don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the upper political thing is. I just have fun watching Miles, or whoever the main character is, originally it was his mother, Cordelia, in the other two books, problem solve their way out of it. And then there are, like, I don't think in the Vore Game as much, although there were kind of moments where, like, suddenly I'm like, wow, I am so much more connected to this character than I have any right to be. Like, in this case, it was Gregor. If you've read the series, I'm like, wow, Gregor. Wild. Like, before that, he was just this, like, figure in the stories that I hadn't really followed much. So, really excited to keep going. I think Seda Candon is next. Because, like, I think it does a really good job of giving you a broad picture of where we are in the universe. But, like, you really are just focused in on, like, these little character moments and their little problems. And also how, like, one decision kind of spirals into so much more. And sometimes they're his fault, and sometimes it's like, well, how could you have predicted that would happen? No clue, Miles. No clue. All right, things I am still in the middle of. Still in the middle of Reaper's Gale. I've read 2 chapters, which is a lot, since the last time we've spoken. And I continue like a chapter every other day or something when I'm feeling it, because I don't have a lot of brain space. And like this week I've had headaches on and off, which, like, I'm sorry. I don't really want to read Malazan when I have a migraine. It's just doesn't speak to me. But I'm still enjoying it. So that's not the one I'm thinking about DNFing. War Child by Karen Lawachi. I loved part 1 of this book. That one, I consumed it so easily. It was written in second person. It was like you couldn't look away. It was really dark. Part 2 has been more about recovery and a training montage and learning about a new culture. And on paper, I don't dislike any of those things. But in practice, it's been really hard to read this section. Like, it's just, every time I pick it up, I feel my eyes just glazing over the sentences. I only have an hour left, so I kind of want to push through this and try part 3. And if part 3 feels the same way, then I DNF. But at the same time, it's like finding that hour to like push through, especially because, as we're going to discuss, I am currently just started 2 other things that really excite me, and I have an anticipated reread on the horizon, so it's just like, But that's where I'm kind of at there. And it's one of those things where if part 1 hadn't worked so well for me, I think I would DNF. And also if I hadn't loved so many of her short stories. And it's not even that part 2 is bad. It's just not been gripping to me. And part of that is the poor book got picked up in the middle of my move. So it's been kind of jumping around. But I mean, I have been successfully reading since then. Just nothing I think quite as challenging as this. So I think what I need to do is spend at least another 30 minutes on it. I think I can give it at least another 30 minutes. Ideally the whole hour, but we'll see. Maybe I'll give it 30 minutes while I'm like, my mom has an elliptical, so I might go over there, work out on the elliptical, and like, I can really focus when I'm working out and reading. I noticed this when I was reading Wheel of Time years ago, so maybe I'll try that. But the book I really want to read, and what I'd rather read in my free time, is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. And I'm only 32 pages in. Okay, I'm going to put up a picture because I'm lazy, but this is my copy. And I really like these books. They are just so easy for me to flip through. And this one, I think, is going to be exploring things that I really like. And it's in stark contrast to War Child because of that. So this takes place, I think, 4 to 5 years after what happened in My Heart is a Chainsaw. So Jade Daniels she went through it. Okay, it's a slasher series, slasher horror. A lot of people die in slashers. This is not a spoiler. That's the genre. So we have this town that went through this massacre in the first book because it's a slasher book. And now we are 5 years after it. And she's going back to her hometown. I currently don't know why. And just like My Heart is a Chainsaw, the opening chapter is like classic horror setup of, oh, I don't know who you are, character, but I don't think you're going to make it to the end of this chapter. It was so good. And so presumably there's going to be another sort of serial killer, horror figure, slasher inspired thing around. She's coming back home for reasons I don't know. I actually already have complete investment in this town. I know a lot about her from the first book, and I can already feel her trying to still recover from the events of the last book. Also, she's much older now, like not like a bunch older, but she was 17 before and now she's 22, which is a huge gap in life experience as well. So I'm excited to unpack that. She's currently having people call her Jennifer instead of Jade, which is a whole other thing to unpack. And I just had this touching reunion between her and another character, and I'm very 30 pages in, I just want to read this book, okay? Hopefully, by the time you're seeing this tomorrow morning, I have read a few, because I'm actually filming this on Thursday instead of Wednesday, because, see, earlier in the video, I had a migraine yesterday, so that was not happening. And also, I'm very excited to be reading this, because I already have a physical arc of the last book, which is The Angel of Indian Lake, so this is going to finish the trilogy. So, presumably, Jade will make it through this book, because it's not called the Jade Daniels trilogy, but I'm pretty sure she's the main thread through all of them. But this is the last one, so who knows? And I really do like the different colors for each of them. I'm hoping this is the color scheme that they're going to use for the paperback when it comes out. And what's great is that I'll have this to read because I own the other two in paperback, so I'm not going to buy this in hardback. I don't do that. I don't do that to myself. Even with the inset, I survive. I also really love this cover, especially having read chapter 2. They're not given chapter names, but Dark Mill South. Yeah. Now, the chapter I'm in right now is called Scream, which is pretty great. So anyways, this has been incredibly fun for me. So that's what I'm currently in the beginning of. Oh, and I've also, as an audiobook, I don't know how far I'll get into it, but I should commit some time to it. I just don't have time. And this is All the Hidden Paths, I believe is the name, by Foz Meadows. People in my Discord have also read Strange and Stubborn Endurance and had been reading this, and there's a lot of love for it in my reading circles. And I really loved Strange and Stubborn Endurance, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should pick up the second one. I like this author. I have a physical arc. It's really easy to get the audiobook from my library. And then I learned one of the audio narrators is one of my favorite audio narrators, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, let's go. And I am already kind of very invested in this audio cast, in what we're exploring. Because the first book is a romance, so there is a quote-unquote happily ever after, but it's also not one of those everything is okay happily ever after. So we're really, I think, going to unpack how one of our characters really does have all this emotional baggage he needs to work through and unpack. And I really like their character dynamics. I just met a horse. It's a very cute horse. So yeah. So again, I feel really excited about those things that I'm truly only 20 to 30 pages in the beginning of. So that's why I think it's hard for me to want to work to pick up War Child or even Reaper's Gale. Although I don't actually feel as distant from Reaper's Gale. I just always when I sit down, I like to finish a chapter when I start it, and the next chapter is going to take me an hour, which is fine. But I need to read my lab prep books first. So priorities. So those are the things that I am reading. I don't know if I'll end up picking up anything else before the end of the month. If I do, my bet is going to be my reread of The Way of Kings, because I should start that, because in theory we're going to discuss that in February or early March, so I should start getting it going, because I have learned that for myself, I like a good slow Stormlight experience. I do not like to just barrel through it, because I don't have fun when I do that. They're not dense, but they're really long. So I like to take my time with it, especially with the reread. It's just so cozy. It's just yeah, pick up a chapter here or there, especially Way of Kings. Way of Kings is so cozy for me. So that's probably the rest of my quote unquote reading plans for the rest of the month. I feel especially because I'm playing more board games, and I I have a movie pass now because I'm back in a place where it doesn't cost me $20 to see a movie, which is amazing. Like yesterday, I just saw a matinee of the new Mean Girls movie, which was really fun. Something that wasn't on my bingo card was my 17-year-old cousin really liked it. She does not know the source material, and I don't think she normally likes musicals, which if you don't know, the Mean Girls movie is the musical adaptation. Like, there is a musical adaptation, and that was adapted for a movie. Like, it's the weird adaptation triangle. So in some ways, because it's a musical, so to adapt Mean Girls to a musical, you have to do a lot of that whole, like, telling, not showing that musicals kind of do, which I do like. I don't mind it at all, because that's just, like, if you want to have the songs, you have to take out some of the exposition and dialogue, or you have to, like, really catch on to lines that are in the song, right? Like, that's where your exposition is going to be. It changes its location. But then, like, musicals can feel a little, like, more claustrophobic and closed in because you just have the stage. Like, yes, they can make them opulent and stuff, but, like, you feel closer to it. And then when a movie, things are grander, but you have to still keep the whole larger than life, breaking the wall, that this is actually kind of surreal. And I think they did that fairly well. I still can't decide how I feel about it. Like, in some ways, I really love what they've done to kind of update it to the modern high school experience. Because, 2004 and 2024, very different years. Like, I wasn't even in high school in 2004. I was in 5th or 6th grade, can't remember. I was young. I was probably 12, so I was not in high school. But still, Ott's high school experience, really different. We were just starting to get social media. Cell phones were really not a thing. So this movie, updating the social media part of it, I think it did really well there. I like that, there's still an emphasis on people caring about how they look, because how you present yourself is such a key part of, like, human experience, but especially high school human experience. But I also like that it's not so, oh my God, we must be the skinniest people on earth, because if you grew up in the aughts, that's what it was like, and it was so hard. So, like, the fact that the actress who plays Regina George has, like, my body type, is like, wow, so nice. Because goodness, I hated that low-rise face so much. So much. Anyways, so it was fun. I don't know if it'll really stick with me, but I had a fun time with it. So that is to say, I want to see more movies, though. I think there's one that Ryan's interested in that's more of a drama that we're going to go see, because I love going to the theater. Like, I do love doing it. It's just wasn't cost effective. And then Boston closed my favorite theater. So then not only was it not cost effective, it was uncomfortable, which is just not fair. Anyways, that's this ramble. I'm having a good time. Just very busy prepping for school because it's starting really soon, and I'm teaching all new classes, so we'll see what happens. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave a claw. I don't know if they'd have claw. Something that reminds you of a slasher. So that could be like scratches or blood. Like, ideally, I want the hook. I just don't know if hooks exist in emojis. But because this is what I'm most excited about right now. This is the current, like, serotonin that I'm feeling at the moment. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.